Welcome to Leicester Print Workshop. We're right in the heart of Leicester, on the edge of the cultural quarter. The cultural quarter is just 5-10 minutes walk from the centre of town, but it's an area which has the Leicester's theatre, Leicester's cinema, creative business and all sorts. Our address is St George Street, but this is actually Queen Street. Our entrance is off Queen Street. We're next door to another artist studio set up called Two Queens. And down the road there you can see Curve Theatre. Behind us is the Phoenix Cinema, so we're right at the centre of things. So here we are in the main entrance of our workshop. This workshop, we've been here for 5 years. In fact, 2020, it's our 5th anniversary just coming up, almost to the day of this filming. We moved from a building just outside the centre of town, and before that we were in another building, so this is our third home, as it were. But this one is just a superb building. It's superb facilities, space, equipment, light, as well as location. As I said outside, we're in the cultural quarter. The cultural quarter has been a sort of gradual conversion over the last 20 years of a lot of industrial buildings into residential and creative hubs, as it were. And this too was an industrial building, not like the Victorian textiles factories down the road. This was a 1970s steel fabrication building organisation. And when the conversion happened, it had been empty for quite a few years, but essentially it was just one big shell. So the conversion was really about changing it from being one big open empty space, double height space, into what we needed it to be as a print workshop. Our architects were a London firm called Takero Shimazaki, and they actually won a couple of RIBA, the Royal Institute of British Architect Awards, for the conversion of this building for us, which we were very proud of, and hopefully they were too. They made such a good job of fitting this building to what the print workshop does, without taking away what it used to be. So there are lots of elements of the building that still maintain the history of its previous uses. I'm standing in a space next to this press, which we actually never use, but we brought it with us from the last building. But it conveniently catches drips from a hook up in the ceiling. The hook up in the ceiling was unused since the steel fabricators moved out. It goes along two massive steel sort of runners either side of the building, which are also still in the building. But once we'd been in the building a little bit and used it and the building warmed up, the hook began to drip, and it's dripped occasionally every few hours, minutes, whatever, for 5 years. One day it'll stop and we'll be able to move this press out the way. But this is our main exhibition space. So it's fantastic, it's got wonderful light. We put this glass in where the business would have had steel shutters before, just as this was its main entrance in and out. But so we've got a double height, lovely exhibition space, and we have a sort of rolling programme of exhibitions, mainly of members' work from the membership of our workshop. It also leads on to a sort of secondary exhibition space, but also a space that is more of a social meeting, talking, chatting, giving talk space as well. One of the things about moving to this building was that we increased in size massively. The footprint of this exhibition space is the footprint of the building we were in before. The building we were in before was 3 floors, but essentially it was a Victorian, like a corner shop, an end of terrace corner shop. So it was a massive increase in space, but it enabled us to have spaces where the artists using the workshop can also, as I say, show work, see exhibitions, have a shop where artists can sell their work, There's a kitchen, so people can spend all day working here and have time for a break. There's actually benches and a garden. So it caters for people really using this as their workspace, their regular workspace, as well as being a lovely space to visit and show off if you've got people coming in to see work and see artists. It's over 100 feet long, this building. When we first opened, a couple of people who used to work here came in, and they said one or two people used to permanently wear roller skates to go back and up and down the building, moving things, as I say, whatever they were moving on these big runners. But it's a massive space. It was all one height, so we've introduced a mezzanine level. So we have an upstairs and a downstairs, but in a really clever way, so there's still lots and lots of light. It also had just a very few windows before, and there's been windows put in again to just sort of increase the see-through of the building and the visibility from the outside. We want people to be able to see what's happening inside this building. It's a place of showing work, but also seeing artists making work. So what I'm going to do is just walk through the building with you a little bit, point out some things which we're proud of, we find interesting, things that are important that are here, and give you a better idea of what to expect when you come to Leicester Print Workshop. So this is the first sort of main working area of the workshop. Two Rochat etching presses. One of these presses, and I can't think which it was now because they are sort of identical, except one was the first press the Print Workshop ever got in 1986 when we started up in tiny little 2 up, 2 down cottage in Ayleston, just sort of suburb of Leicester. The first bit of equipment bought with an Arts Council grant was a Rochat etching press, and for the first 10 years of our life that was the press we had, that was the Print Workshop. The Print Workshop was the etching press and everything was done on it. Down the side of the building, the architects have built in a sort of service corridor. So each of these doors lead to a small room where all the processes happen. And the way the building is organised is such that the processes are together as much as possible. So these are the etching presses. So one of these rooms has the acid baths in, another room has the aquatint facilities in, so everything's sort of close by. So there's not too much walking around with delicate plates or bumping into people who are carrying big screens because they're down somewhere else, etc. So we're trying to keep it all like that. This room here was a huge boon to, and a reason for us to move in one way, because this is our education space. I said a room, it is a room, but it's sort of still open to the rest of the workshop. So the lovely thing is we can run a course while members are in working. So beginners or schools or groups of artists can come in and be being taught, and then individuals are continuing their practice outside. So there's a really nice back and forth of sharing information and seeing what other people are doing. So there's space to do that, but it's designed in a way that it is a sort of discrete space if you want to keep a group quite compact. The little hand iron press we've got at the end there is an early 19th century Britannia with a few modifications, something that a member gave us. And that's been a sort of pattern throughout our history, is that a lot of the equipment and plan chests, etc., we've been given by people, or we've taken the opportunity of buying them from when other places are closing down, art college departments and such like, which means that sort of nothing matches, but everything has its own history, which is lovely. And quite often that history relates to a person or an artist or an institution, which is sort of key to printmaking and to the print workshop. It's very much been a membership organisation. It's been about printmakers making prints and that sharing of information and everything that involves, which has kept it going really and kept it still a really important place to be. So we walk down, we've got two of these big presses. We use them now really, one is for etching and one will be for collagraphs. So the pressures are kept slightly different when people are working here. Just prosaic things like we've got space for a drying stack. We've got lots and lots of plan chests, which means that every member can have their own drawer, more or less. And which means that, again, they can keep it as their drawer. It means it becomes much more their studio. They can keep work here. They don't have to bring things in each time they come. And it means they can keep things safe and clean and dry. So we've got drawers with people's work in, and obviously drawers with paper and such like. We work in the way that everything here, everything you might need for printmaking, we have. We can sell you. We can provide you to do your thing. But people also bring their own stuff in and use theirs. So again, they can store it here and are just using our presses or using the space or using the facilities. So walk down and water bath for soaking paper. We've got a dark room here with a small light box and facility in there for anybody who's doing some photo type work. These presses all link around to one of the first sort of inking stations down here. So if you were etching or doing a collagraph, you'd be inking up here and using these presses. This main corner of the workshop here is dedicated to silkscreen. Again, we've got washout booths and a big light box exposure unit here and a screen store. Again, we have lots of screens, but a lot of people have their own screens, so we can store them or you can bring them in and out as you like. Big drying cupboards, lots of drying racks as well. And crucially, space, lots of space. So people have the areas where they're actually making the prints, but also they can sit down and spread their drawings out and work at tables close to what they're doing. This is our lithography area. We're very proud that we still keep the tradition of stone lithography going. We've got a grinding room over there and two different lithography presses. Number of stones, clean paper area, lots of good quality printmaking papers. Again, so people can buy artist quality paper to work on by the sheet when they're here if they need to. This corner here is all about relief printmaking. In front of us we've got a not terribly beautiful but a really important press, the hydraulic press. It used to be half the size. It didn't. We used to have one half the size, and when we moved here we were offered a sort of part exchange swap with this one, which suddenly gave us a much bigger bed size. So that's our hydraulic press. Around the corner we have one of the stars of the shows in terms of press engineering, which is our 1838, I think, Colombian press. Again, this sort of came not quite with the building, but we got it almost as we moved into the building. So this big window was actually designed for our other hand iron press to go in and be the showcase. But when we were offered this, we swapped places and we put this in our big showcase window. So again, really lovely press to do lino, to do woodcuts, and any lead type or wooden type. We've got a large collection of type. Most of it we've been given, and as you can imagine, even though we've been given some since we've been here, in the smaller building that we're in, one of the reasons people get rid of these things is just they take up a huge amount of space. So we have much more space here to keep it together, keep it accessible and use it. We've got a lot of lovely wooden poster type and the old typesetting bench, etc. So proofing press as well. So people can work on this press or on the proofing press with the type as well, so it sort of covers all those things. And this is a really lovely place to work, just in front of the window looking out onto our garden. So this is upstairs. Upstairs we've got the admin offices, stairway to come up, but we also have a lift here, so the whole building was quite important to us that it is as accessible as possible, and also really useful if you're carrying big frames and big bits of metal and heavy things. We've got a lift up and down. We've also got a framing area here, so it acts as a framing and exhibition area for our own exhibitions, but also members can make their own frames. We offer a framing service, but members can do a course, learn how to frame and make their own frames for exhibition. We've got good quality professional mount cutters and mitre cutters, etc. This room is actually a lovely space as well. This sort of hovers above the entrance as you come into the workshop, and so you get a lovely look outside the front with there's the hook again that we saw as we came into the building, and see what's happening in the exhibition space, and also a really nice vista through the artist studios which make up the rest of the first floor of the building. So upstairs we have spaces for 9 independent artists. The spaces are rented out and artists have 24-hour access. There's a side door that they can come in even when the workshop isn't open. But one of the lovely things about having a studio here is that it's a building that's used 5, 6, 7 days a week anyway. So usually there's something happening, which means the building itself is in use every day of the week, morning, noon and night, in terms of quite a lot of the artists come in and stay late, etc. It's a fantastic view over the workshop space here. Again, there's always those pauses where you need to just think, pause and think and look, and there's lots of nice spaces in the workshop where you can just see the building, see the space, see other people working, which is really important. So as I say, 9 artist studios, a whole variety of artists, not just printmakers, but quite a lot of printmakers, people who also include printmaking in their practice, have spaces. So they have their spaces here and work in their spaces, but they also obviously have access to downstairs and are part of the organisation. The sort of artist community here is very definitely part of the Leicester Print Workshop community. When we have open days here, the studios are open, the artists get to show their work and meet the public just as the print workshop is open downstairs. So that's Leicester Print Workshop for you. We are a membership organisation, so we have, at the moment, we have about 200 members. We run as a charity, but we're also one of the Arts Council's national portfolio organisations. It is open to anyone who's interested and wants to do printmaking. We are always running courses for beginners, for advanced. It's a way of us making money as well as a way of entering the workshop for people. There's lots of other ways if you want to become involved with our organisation, becoming a member, coming on a course, becoming a volunteer. There's lots of events and exhibitions that we do where we occasionally need other people, and we also do things out of the building as well, which again, interestingly, sort of working with other organisations in Leicester and beyond in the East Midlands.